rescheduled to come earlier than later in the afternoon. Hopefully some UC fans will appreciate that UC game coming up. For you guys that may not know me, I'm Steve Ellis. I'm the varsity head coach here at Marymount. This is my 5th year here, and we're getting ready to get started here. My assistant coach, Doug Ass, who's been with me since we came here. A little background. I came from Anderson. I coached there 19 years before I came over here. Doug is from New Richmond, all-time leading scorer in Richmond basketball history. Coached there, and then hooked up with me. We came over here. This is our 5th year. We've had 3 straight years of at least 10 wins in a row, and 2 years ago we won the league. And we're not claiming to be Bobby Knight or Bob Izzo or anything like that, but we feel that the passion that Doug and I have, we kind of show that in all faces to the kids to try to get them motivated enough to come out and play. And one of the things that Doug and I talk about all the time is about heart and effort, which you can kind of combine those with basketball. Basketball is a sport that you got to have passion for, and if you're going to coach, you got to have passion. It takes a lot of time and effort out of your day, out of our day to come and coach you guys. And if you're not into it, just like anything else in life, you're probably not going to be very good at it. So we try to, show the kids that as well, and for them to have the passion and the heart and the effort to come into it as well. One of the things I had heard recently was about what Doug and I say to the kids every day, that when you walk through the doors when you're playing basketball, that the 2 things you can control is your effort and your attitude. And those things just speak volumes when you're on the court. Having a positive attitude, having a great effort, and it just shows. And that's what we try to do, and you see that. And hopefully you can stick around today after this. We have a scrimmage coming up, and you'll see the effort and attitude that we have. We got what is hoped to be a terrific team coming back this year for the varsity. We have basically 4 starters returning, and we have high hopes. And it's one of the better teams that Marymount's had in a while. And sky's the limit. We really don't know how good we are. We're going to find out pretty quickly. But the one thing we control is our effort and our attitude. So we're not sure exactly when the preseason polls come out. We're probably going to be picked 2nd, 3rd, or maybe even 4th, depending on if some other schools in the league don't like us. But we feel that we could, we have a chance to just about win every game. And if we don't, it's probably on us more than the other team. So we're excited about it this year. As we are every year, differently than the team that won the league 2 years ago. We have more talent on this team than the team 2 years ago, but the difference from the reason why that team with less talent won the league was because they played together. There wasn't one star. They played together, they shared the basketball, and we had a speaker come last week. Everybody knows who Byron Larkin is. And I got him to come in and speak to the guys, which was just a great privilege for him to come in. And he graded, there's a million different examples you can prove, or you can show the kids about what it takes to play as a team and how important it is. I speak all the time, as you guys know, about Michael Jordan. First 3 or 4 years in the league, he averaged 36 points a game and never made it past the first round of the playoffs. Then all of a sudden, his average went down. He shared the basketball and made other average players better. And the rest is history. He's got more rings than you can count. But the one thing that Byron Larkin spoke about was, if I walk up to you and I poke you in the eye with this one finger, it's probably going to sting a little bit. And you're probably going to. It's going to smart for a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. It's just one finger, all right? But if I take all these and I put them together, and Byron said it better than me, you put them all together and I sock you right in the face, that's probably going to hurt. And that's the kind of example, the difference between this and this, all 5 of them. And it's really important, and if you listen to what I'm saying, more importantly about this year's team, you'll know what I'm talking about.
And that's coming from a guy who scored 28 points a game.
Yeah, Byron Larkin. Yeah. So I'm going to go through some things here. I'm going to pass out a packet here. If you guys can kind of spread those around, make sure everybody gets one.
Sorry. Hey, throw one more down.
Share the ball.
Using your
I thought he
finger.
gave you a stack. They were all.
All right, so I've already gone through the first couple points. The third point there is the foundation game. I'm not sure, maybe some of you have already heard about this. What we're doing Tuesday is just a wonderful thing for our school district and what we're doing. We have a lot of people involved that are giving up their time and efforts. And let me explain what a foundation game is. In the preseason, you're allowed 4 or 5 scrimmages. And one of the things you can do, instead of a scrimmage, it's called a foundation game. And it's basically like a dress rehearsal. So it's like a game situation, but it doesn't count in the standings. You play like a game, uniforms, refs, you guys in the stand, band, cheerleaders, everything you can think of as a real game, but it doesn't count. The kicker is that you're doing it for a foundation. The state of Ohio allows you to do it, and you have to have a foundation that you're fighting a cause for, and you're raising money for, and it's kind of a combination with the kids are doing a service project. And so this year's, we did it 3 years ago with Turpin High School here, foundation game, and this year we're doing with Claremont Northeastern here on Tuesday night. And the foundation that we're doing this year is for melanoma. Trying to get people with awareness for melanoma, and that, there's a lot of diseases out there, but some that hit home more than others. I'm sure some may be affected. We have a varsity or an ex-varsity cheerleading coach that's fighting through it right now, and Doug is battling that right now as well. So we're going through this, and if you can make it Tuesday, it's just a terrific night that we're going to have. It's so fun. We're having the JV varsities at 4:30, the girls varsities at 6, and then the varsity boys is at 7:30. That may not time up well because we got a lot of things going on. We got I think how you're getting some rec teams to come in and play. Halftime of the JV game, or somewhere around there, and then we got Chuck's got a guy coming in with dogs and frisbee, doing a dog and frisbee show that you see in arenas, in the Marymount Arena here. And
Wow.
We have Doug's daughter, who performs nationally for dance studio, is coming in to perform. We got all kinds of prizes and things going on. Kind of like if you guys have been to the Cyclones game and you get a puck in between quarters and throw it on the ice, and the closest one to the middle wins, something. What we're doing with frisbees here, isn't that what it is?
Yep.
Yeah, frisbees. So there's a lot going on Tuesday night. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and it's just a great way for us to kick off our season. So hopefully, I wanted to promote that here, which has nothing to do with this. Al, sorry about why we're here, but I wanted to promote that.
Great cause. Hey, Steve, the other thing, if kids wear their rec uniform, they get it for free.
Thank you. That's right. Okay, so moving down the list here, the next thing I want to talk about is encouraging your kids. Other than the November to February, March area, to try to get them to come to camps. And I've got to meet some of you here, and I recognize your name because your son has come to my camp. I'm not sure how it was before Doug and I got here, but the last 3 years, my first year we had like 35 kids. And the last 3 years we've averaged in the 80s to high 80s, which has just been tremendous. And a lot of that has to do with you guys encouraging your kids, getting them to play, getting their buddies to play, and come to the camps County. You know, obviously you can't play defense on yourself, but there's a lot of things you can do. You can dribble that you don't need anybody else. It's hard to say that about, you know, some of the other sports. All right, and that's why I wanted to encourage you guys to encourage your kids, and also we have 11 home games this year, and one of our away games is down at Centos, where we play Madeira on December 15th. And I'd love for you guys to come out, not only to the Madeira game, but to our home games, and have your kids, encourage them to come as well, so they can see what the future's like for them. I can just remember when I was that age, and you know, those guys looked like they were bigger than life, and how excited I was about, you know, growing up so I could be that person. You know, now I'm like their, you know, father.
What's the date of that game, 15th?
December 15th is Saturday. It's a CHL day where all the CHL teams play each other down at Centos. Yeah, it's a great event. Next thing I want to do, most of you guys already know this, but I wanted Hal, if you'll come up and
Sure.
One of the efforts that I'm sure you guys know, and I can't appreciate it more, when I was brought in an interview for this job 5 years ago, one of the things that was hit on in the 4 interviews that I went through was, how are you going to build a program? You know, and I was prepared to answer, how are you going to win? And it was, how are you going to build a program? And, you know, and so going through that, I'm like, I fully support, I want to get involved in this, and I luckily I did have a plan, but through the efforts of you guys and guys like Hal and Chuck and Brad, who have made the efforts to try to bridge the gap between the elementary schools to the junior high and junior high to the high school. And one of the things that Hal has done is brought in a trainer, which has just been wonderful and glowing things I've heard about, you know, helping you guys. So Hal, if you can introduce.
Jeremy, so we'll put you on the spot here in just a minute.
I knew it.
I am, this is great. I think many of you have had your kids come to his sessions starting back in August and run up until, you know, we're doing them now through the end of the month. And we'll continue to engage you during the course of the year. Terrace Park is doing the same. I know that Coach Kennedy and Freeze are going to have them, you know, as part of the program there as well. But look, I guess the simplest way I could say this is I've been through like 40 years of training, of playing basketball, playing for different coaches, and I've had some wonderful coaches and experiences. Been to camps, Michigan camp, Purdue, several others, and it's amazing the stuff that I've learned from Jeremy in the last 6 months that I had never seen it broken down and explained and digested by kids like I've seen it. And Jerry's probably got a firsthand witness because he looks at, there's no better, I guess, poster boy for this than Ryan Matarese. Ryan plays, Jerry's volunteer. Doesn't even, by the way, Jerry's coaching. He doesn't even have a kid in the team. And I just put a little plug in for you too. I know. But anyway, but Ryan is no better. There's no better example of what Jeremy's training has meant than to his development than with Ryan Matarese. So my simple message would be, one, if you encourage your kids to utilize the clinics that are still set up with training sessions for the balance of November. Secondly, I will be working with John Getchie, who's the president of Marymount Rec, to get him as part of our weekly training. In other words, he will be assigned once a week to at least once a week of an opportunity to engage with Jeremy in your training, in your practice. So you can have him run the practice, you can have him run an element of the practice, you can have him observe and give you feedback. We'll figure all that out, but I want to make sure that you'll have that opportunity, and I know that Brandon, Mark will be doing the same thing in Terrace Park. The last thing is engage him directly. If you want to do your own thing with your own kid, you want to get just your team together off, individually, I would totally encourage it. And it's, I can't say enough about how accessible he's been. And so, Jeremy, come on up and come on. Jay, right, come on, man. I'm gonna make you. Come on, man.
I knew how I was going to put me in the spot. I know most of you guys, and some of you guys, kids I've worked with. Thanks, coaches, for inviting me. I guess the only thing I can really say about my program is I feel like kids are learning the game, especially at a younger age. They're learning the game the wrong way. And what I mean by that is they're learning the game from outside in. You ever watch kids in the gym, the first thing they want to do is launch up the boost. And I'll grab them periodically and say, can you make a left-handed layup? And they look at me like I'm speaking Japanese. Just because they're not taught. Like it's so, the perimeter game is so glamorous. Kids and coaches sometimes skip over it. Kids get in these tryout situations, they don't even know terminology. I was over at Woodlawn Rec the other day, and I had 40 kids, and 20 of them didn't even know where half court was. How can I teach you anything? You don't even know what all these lines mean, lane and block and all that stuff. We throw kids in these tryout situations, they don't know basic terminology. They're pretty much done from that point. And I think the game isn't fun. The second thing is I think kids really don't understand how much the game takes physically. One of the things I try to do is right up front is when I get a group of kids, I just start them running. Say run. And then 2 or 3 times down the court, I'll ask them to raise their hands if they're tired. You normally have a few cocky when they're not tired, so I just make them run until they all just give in. And then I'll normally say, well, you know, if you guys are tired, there's no shame in being tired. Raise your hand. And then once they all raise their hand, I say to them in unison, I say, welcome to basketball. Because a lot of kids just don't understand the fatigue part of it. Just the basic stuff I try to teach. Taking pride in making layups. I couldn't tell you how many 9th, 10th graders I've had make a left-handed layup. And they think they can play. So I think, my program is just basically that. I do more teaching than I do coaching. I try to break stuff down. When I take a small group, I try to make things, I try to dumb it down, so to speak, as well as I can, because I just don't assume kids know very much. And it's not a bad, I don't think that's a bad thing. Even my high school boys, we warm up with layups. Kindergarten, we warm up with layups. I make things basic, so I understand that the foundation of basketball is just like any other classroom setting where you have to have a beginning. You can't just, my opinion, that 3-point line is algebra. The block is 1 + 1, 2 + 2. How do you skip over that? And I think that's what happens to a lot of kids. So I guess what I'm trying to do for you guys is more paint a picture of what I do versus going into a long, drawn-out, complex returns and stuff like that. That's kind of what, in a nutshell, that's what I do. I've been doing it for about 12 years now. I just started my own program about almost 2 years ago. And I've worked with YMCA, CRC, Terrace Park Rec, Sycamore Rec, Marymount Rec. So that's, and the last thing is I really do like kids. I like kids. Anybody who ever comes on my staff, the first thing I ask them is, do you like kids? I know you like basketball. Do you like them when they're kids, when they're not listening? You got to repeat yourself 75 times. Some guys or girls too, they just don't have the patience for it. And I feel like, and I'm done after this, my only talent really is my patience. That's really all it is. I'm super patient. They can't walk and chew bubble gum. I repeat myself 300 times. Same even keel. Because once they get it, then it's on them. And the parents love it, and they're more confident. And then it becomes more than just dribble left hand, dribble right hand, and shoot the ball. It starts to help them socially. It starts to help them in more ways just in what it does for them between the lines. That's it. I don't know if that was too long.
Awesome. Thank you.
I was going to say, also, if you need any help translating 4-letter words, he played for a year for Huggy Bear, so he knows how to translate all that stuff.
That's great. So one of the things to expand on that, if you haven't been outside of Marymount, it's just a tremendous thing to have somebody like Jeremy, and to have people like Hal who care enough down at that level to teach your kids from the beginning. And I've had a couple of meetings with some of you guys and talk about, what do you want? What do you want as varsity coach? What do I want from you guys? And I don't think I can say it much better than Jeremy. Is that you got to crawl before you walk. You got to third level is in high school. They come in, they want to jack up the threes. And, when I met with Hal and some other people that, what do you want me to do? I said, we got to teach you to dribble first. You can't shoot if you can't dribble first. That's the first thing you got to teach them to dribble. And guys, that's a lost art. And it shows. All the way, we still have guys in our program at the high school level that struggle with it. You get to a point where they're pretty good one-handed, but they're weak-handed, they're not. And it shows. And when you see us play some of the teams this year, you're going to see teams that can really handle the ball, and their turnover ratio is not very high. And you're going to see teams that can't handle the ball. And those are the teams that we smell blood when we go and attack on defense. And so you've got to be able to dribble, because you can't. You're not playing horse out there. And that's a big thing. I encourage, Jeremy, the efforts that he's been doing, you guys, coaching, that dribbling is such an important thing. And first thing your kids are going to say is, this is boring. Well, yeah, it is, but, also not be able to get a shot off or not be able to do other things. That's all part of the game. Those are all important things. Next thing I want to show you, if you'll turn to page, is I have a page on here about coaching motivation. And I put together this thing, a little packet about 3 years ago. And I only included one page in there for you, not to bore you. If you want the whole packet, you can email me or call me or text me and I can get it for you. But from reading books and talking to other coaches and going to clinics, kind of just ideas about basic 101, how to be a coach and how to act, and how you can be positive and have a good effect on the kids that you're teaching. And all this stuff here is no different than what I do and what Doug does, and I'm sure what Jeremy does. And they're all real positive things that we all learn on a daily basis, including myself, on how to have motivation as a coach. So I just want to give you one of the pages there. If you need the rest of it or want the rest of it, if you care, I'm happy to share that with you as well. Anybody have any questions about that? Without expanding into great theory on each of those things, do you have any questions? I share this with my coaching staff from the junior high up every year, just a kind of reminder, and I tell them, you know what, it's not a bad idea like once a week or once in a while to go back and look at it, just kind of get a refresher course to how to motivate as a coach. Sure. Yeah. That's a good question. Here's how I've learned, and I've gone to clinics and listened to Tom Izzo and Huggins and all these. You're as a coach, you're a teacher first. As Jeremy said, you're a teacher, and you're going to instruct in the game. But as most of you have probably come and seen me act like an idiot over here, you're more of a motivator because there's not a whole lot of time to be teaching. It's so important at practice time to teach. They got to have it and have the game plan and all the executions and the plays and the positioning on defense and everything like that. That's all in practice. And once we go through our preparation and pregame, talk about matchups and our game plan, like that. Once we get into the game, we may have a little slight correction on where they need to be, but it's more about motivation when it comes to games, I feel, and I've listened to, gone to state clinics and listened to other coaches, and basically they ask the same question, and that's how I treat it, because it's hard to break down. I mean, obviously, you're in a timeout, you want to say, okay, on Bearcat, this is where you should be, but more so, that's why, without taking the phrase from John Wooden, practice is repetition, repetition, repetition. And if you have that, then by the game, it's going to be, clockwork.
So would you say, because personally, I may have tried to put too much into 30-second or 1 minute, whatever we have time on.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Recommend simplify. She said motivate, encourage, but the message or the adjustment that you're trying to make in a timeout, halftime, in between quarters, simplify.
Simplify. Yeah, that's exactly right. But I tell you what I've learned, and this is more so to kind of keep their attention, is to correct. Kind of kick them in the butt and then pat them on the back. Correct what they're doing wrong, what they need to be doing, whether it be effort or positioning on defense or boxing out, whatever, and then go on their strengths and be positive, so that when they leave that huddle, they're not all down. Coach hates me, and that type of thing. That they're positive and that they are focused and ready to get back out there. And that's not just for timeouts. That's for halftime, it's for pregame. Whatever. Like in halftimes, we go in and if we're down. When we go in and we scream and yell and holler and do all this stuff, well, chances are half of them are going to close up, and they're going to shrink down even further. And we've learned that, and it's a learning thing every day, and I'm learning as well. And so, we try to point out very clearly the corrections that need to be made, and so that the message gets through. And then we expand on the positive things that are working and talk about what works for us in the past or in practice, and expand on that, and then get them motivated to come back out and play. That's a good question. My list, some of this stuff is in no particular order. And I touched on this a couple years ago when we had this meeting, and I wanted to kind of expand on just for a minute, is where it says stay in Marymount, or stay Marymount, okay? All right, here's the situation. Marymount's a Division III school, which is a middle-of-the-road school as far as size, okay? I've been around every gym in the city, probably tri-state as well as Doug has, and there is no better facilities than what we have right here. I came from Anderson Division I program that does not have a practice gym like we have. Does not have the efforts or connection to the elementary school, let alone the junior high. They're connected with Nagle Middle School, and so this is a tremendous school district. And I don't need to tell you guys that, you live here. But one thing I need to expand on is that we get to a situation where kids start to get pulled in different directions. And it may not be for basketball, sometimes it may be for other sports, but they get pulled in different directions because they think they may be better than what they really are, and they go to another school thinking that's a better situation for them. And the two things are this. One is that they think they're going to go to another school, bigger Division I school, because that's where they need to go to get a scholarship. Yeah, you may get more on the news or whatever, but as a parent asked me in a parent meeting a couple of years ago, how many Division I college coaches come to our games? And I say very few, but very few came when I was at Division I Anderson. But they did come when you were good enough to play. So whether you're at Marymount or you're at St. Bernard or Moeller, if you're good enough, they're going to come to watch you play. The other thing to talk about, and a great example we had a couple years ago, we had a player that grew up through Marymount, left here, went to St. X, and not necessarily just to play basketball, but other sports as well, and school probably as important. And was on the freshman team, did okay. They have a sophomore team, kind of dropped down the list a little bit, and kind of faded out. Junior year comes back here and doesn't play his junior year. Senior year comes out with his buddies, starts and is the best point guard in the league and wins the league championship for us. See the difference there? At a bigger school, you can get swallowed up Because for every one of your kids that go to that school, there's probably 20 other ones. Same talent, same height, same experience, same desire. You're here, you're going to be call whatever you want. You're going to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond, and it just depends on how you want to look at it. So what I'm trying to get at is one of the things we got to continue to do, and it's not just Marymount, it's every school our size that gets sucked into the Bowlers and LaSalle's and the Summits of the world, is we have a great school district, and we have great facilities and great coaching staff and great efforts by our parents and rec leagues growing up. There's no reason why we can't stay here. Great, absolutely, which is, near the top. I mean, that's head and shoulders above the athletics part. So we need to encourage and continue to try to get kids to stay in Marymount. All right, that's my begging plea. Okay. All right. The next thing on there, the next page is the tryout evaluation points. This is what we give to the junior high and the high school kids on. This is what we're evaluating on. And let me try to make this very clear that we're not evaluating this just in 3 days in November. We evaluate year-round, and we evaluate when we have spring workouts if you should be not playing a spring sport and you come. We evaluate in the summer when we have 30 days of stuff and team camps and practices and individual workouts. So these are things that we look at. If you want to go through this and look at, it's very simple stuff. The skills, obviously, that speaks for itself. The defense, if anybody who knows me, and most of you guys do here, knows me and knows Doug, defense is what we are all about, defense and effort. All right? Does either one of those things have anything to do with basketball? No. Defense and effort, you can just walk in off the street and do that. And we'll put you in the right position to be successful. Now, you come to the court with a little bit of skill, then you're probably not going to come off the floor. I've coached guys that would struggle right now to go down and make a layup in high school on a varsity team, but they never came off the floor because they had heart, effort, and they knew how to play defense. They would guard 2 or 3 guys at a time. and that's what it takes. Now, you have a little bit of skill, watch out. So these are things we look at. The skills, defense, effort. Obviously, being coachable is a huge thing. That's all about being positive and buying into what we're trying to do. We're all in this together. It's not me against you or players against us. We're all in this together. And the sooner we learn that, the better off we're all going to be. And that's the way you guys should present it as well for your team. Does anybody have any questions about the trial evaluation? It's pretty basic stuff, but it's things that if the kids realize, hey, you know what, I need to make sure I'm giving 100%, 110% effort all the time. I need to be listening on the defensive end.
Chuck and Brad, is this the same kind of same
So what you get the last day of our trial, when we do our one-on-one meeting, is a full-page written evaluation of where they stack up and where there's areas for improvement and where we think they're excelling. And then a final at the bottom, whether or not they can squat.
Got it. Okay. So it's all uniform. When you're going through the Marymount program, it's all uniform so that it's clear, what the expectations are, because it makes it easier for Doug and I when we coach in practice. The first couple of years here, no disrespect to the people before us, different terminology, different desire, whatever, but we were having to spend so much time on what help side defense means, teaching a senior that, which meant we didn't have more time to spend on plays or other stuff to execute in the games, which put us behind a lot. Now, in our 5th year, we're not having to teach help side. We have the efforts of you guys and the junior high coaches that the kids already know that. And so now we can expand on doing other stuff in practice that's going to take us to the next level. And that's what's happening for us.
Okay, Steve, I'm just going to make a comment. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but we, through Mike Cook and Matt Lackney and several others, put together a coach's manual up on the Marymount Rec website. And a lot of what that does, it does 2 fundamental things. One is it gives you straight ideas on how to run a practice and how to organize a practice. But the other side of it is it talks about the skills required at a given level, age level. So by the time they're in fourth grade, they should be able to effectively take, or make, or at least attempt the right form of a left-handed layup or a weak-handed layup, etc. So just as a point of reference, and also like what Jeremy was talking about earlier, make sure it starts at the second, third grade level, understanding the places on the floor, what's the block, what's the top of the key, and all that kind of stuff. Because it's amazing, as many of us played the game, and you grow up, or it's just all, we think it should be innate in the kids, and they don't really, a lot of them don't understand it. So just points to reinforce.
And it's a great tool to have. It's fun to see that we had that connection to you guys. So I know that you guys are working so that it continues in the high school ranks. Unless you're at a private school, where you continue to recruit everywhere around. I tell people all the time that I get to recruit Booster Pike, and not only do I recruit Booster Pike, I have to recruit my kids to stay. And so we're trying to turn that around. We don't have to worry about that they are excited about being here and going up and learning through the system here. There's some causes that we have control over, but the more we can continue to do that, it's just a great tool to have. Anybody have any questions on the tryout evaluation page? The next page is the objective of the junior high program, and this is for Brad and for Chuck. That this is what I asked them to do each year, for them to teach their kids as they come through the program from 7th to 8th and on into the freshman year. And I wanted to share this with you guys because there's no reason why you can't do this as well. This is just a different way of saying the tryout evaluation. It's basically the same stuff, but really narrows down on the fundamentals, the effort, the situations that you should think about, how to plan your practice schedule. Some of you guys, what do you get, an hour? Yeah, which is really tough. I remember doing that, and you can't do it. And as much as I like to talk, we don't get anything in because I'm talking the whole time. So, I kind of put an example in there if you're doing like a 2-hour practice, so you can kind of break that down if you're going an hour. But it's really important that like,
That was nice.
Jeremy was talking about how a player didn't know where half court was. Well, I remember my first year, guys didn't know where to stand on free throws, or where to stand on a jump ball. There's little things that you guys can teach to get better. Okay. And along those lines, let me say this: that there is nobody. To be clear, if you know me well enough, there's nobody that likes to win as much as I do. Maybe Doug. With that being said, it's extremely important that it's almost an obligation on your part to set your pride aside and to teach. And I'm not saying to be okay with losing, but I'd rather you have a team that is learning the skills and that you are preparing them for high school, and maybe they're 500, maybe they're a little better, that's great. But the most important thing is that you're teaching. I get parents all the time who are mad because we're not winning or because their kid's not playing, because all they learned was their dad was the coach, and all they learned was to stand there in a 2-3 zone. You know why? Because all they wanted to do was win at the 3rd grade level. And then they come to me and they say, well, they were undefeated when they were in 3rd grade, coach. How come you're not winning? Because they didn't learn anything. I mean, there's a little bit that can be said they learned about winning, and that's nice, but they didn't learn anything. And so it's hard for me to say, don't play zone, and don't win, because I want you to win. I want you to experience it. I want the kids to understand it. But at the same time, you got to teach. You got to teach. And so if you can find that mixture, that's awesome. That's great. That's great. Anybody have any questions about the objectives of the junior high program and what we're trying to do? So going back to what I was saying about the private schools, is that if you guys enforce the teaching and everybody's on the same wavelength, at most public high schools, and this is how it goes, you have a good class of talent, and then you have a little down class. You have a a good class, you have a down class. We're experiencing it right now. Right? We were down when we got here, and we voted up, won the league. We were 500 last year, and now we're back up, climbing up to see how well we can do this year. And that's how public schools are. You're like this, okay? You want to be like this at worst. What you don't want is to have a good class and have 2 or 3 down classes. If you have 2 or 3 down classes, unfortunately, you won't see me anywhere because they'll probably get rid of me. All right. So we need to have consistent classes, and we do. We've got 5 or 6 or 7 years in a row here that I've looked down the road that we're going to do that, and that's with the efforts of you guys in our junior high program. That's going to keep us consistent, but they got to stay.
Hey, Chuck. First of all, does everybody know Chuck and Brad? You guys maybe introduce yourself and what level you're coaching.
Brad Lockhart. I have the privilege to coach the 7th grade team and working with Chuck.
Okay. I'm Chuck Stewart. I coach the 8th grade boys basketball team.
Yeah. So something I think is important for all of us to be aware of. I mean, what Coach Ellis is talking about. Our kind of objective is we're feeding kids up through from Terrace Park, Marymount, Fairfax into the middle school. Our mutual objective is to get 20 kids trying out for freshman basketball. We want 20 kids wanting to compete and try out for that team. So I'm looking at like this year as a great example. I look at the 7th grade squad. They have 34 boys trying out for 12 spots. And you want to talk about what you guys are doing now with the blue and the gold squad?
Sure.
I think this is really important for everybody to understand.
So because we've realized in years past, after we go through the 7th grade selection process, the numbers go from typically 30 to 42 people trying out for the 7th grade team. I think that was our high year. And then coming back for the 8th grade squad to try out, a good year for me is 15 or 16 kids trying out for those same 12 or 13 spots. So what we did this year was we have a combined 7th and 8th grade, essentially recreational team, coached by a separate coach who's not a dad, assisted by Brad and myself all the time, to take another 12 or 13 kids who did not make those squads and keep them teaching the exact same defensive concepts, the same offensive concepts, in a very structured process to keep them involved in our program so that hopefully they'll come back, try out for 8th grade, and then, of course, we'll want them all to try out for the 9th grade squad as well. So it's called the Marymount Gold Team, and Hal's been really instrumental in helping us make sure that we have everything we need as far as the right uniforms and gym time, and we're probably going to have 2 different squads this year so we can take those 13 boys who are on that squad and break them into groups of 6 or 7 apiece so they get a lot of playing time in our game. So I think it's going to be a great year for those guys.
That's a great thing to have. Great thing to have. So I appreciate that. Your guys' efforts and Hal and everybody. So that we need to keep that interest going because, as you know, and we've all experienced it, that you know, the kid gets cut, they get disinterested, and they probably lose interest in the sport. And there may be that one kid that happens. A lot of examples. Michael Jordan got cut. You know, in junior high. Might even got cut as freshman. I'm not sure. It just happens. And I tell people all the time, my sad story is I got cut when I was in 7th grade, and I've been at every position along the way. I got cut, and there's the crossroads. What are you gonna do? You know, give it up and I go play baseball or whatever, or you get motivated to come back and prove people wrong and get back on a team. I went from getting cut 7th grade to starting 8th grade, and started freshman, started JV, sat the bench junior year, had a lot of seniors go through the whole adversity, woe is me, why am I not playing, work your tail off, and then senior year starting and becoming captain senior year and never coming off the floor. So those are the things that you experience, and so we don't want to lose kids if they get cut. That's what we're trying to get through.
Can I say one other thing?
You bet.
Not only the opportunity, what's been set up, Hal, Chuck, is the fact that the cutting process, it's life. We try to teach that as well, but if we're also able to reinforce the positive part of it from a standpoint of making the B team, okay, if not the B team, that they're playing rec ball as well, continue that enthusiasm. Because, if there's
next thing I have in there is about practices, and all I really want to say, I talked about, how you can schedule a practice and how to motivate, things like that, but the one thing to try to think about your practices without boring the kids, like on the dribbling drills, things like that, make it competitive. Make it fun, make it competitive, so that they do have an interest. Instead of standing there and, hey, go up and back, make it competitive. And make it so that, each kid has some success in it as well. All right? And then I think that they'll be more motivated to come to practice, or they'll be more motivated to go home and practice on their own. Okay? The last thing I have on these sheets that are basic drills that we do in our summer camp, we do every single day at the junior high and the high school level. And I kind of just wanted to I don't want to, obviously we don't have time to go through each one, but they're very basic stuff that you see, and I'm sure Jeremy does all this as well. And when you have an individual instructor like Jeremy, or if you're in a practice, all these drills that you can incorporate into your own practice. So what I basically do, and I have like the first, ball handling and dribbling. On this page, basically, like in the summer camp, we have a whole day that's just devoted to ball handling dribbling. But in practices, even at the varsity level, I'll take one or two of these each day, so we don't get stale. We do the same stuff. We mix it up every day, and they're very, very simple things. And I wish we had all day to go through each one to show you. And for the most part, it's pretty self-explanatory. But if you don't know, please call me, or please email me, or please ask Jeremy. I'm sure Jeremy knows every single one of these, and I'm sure he can probably
Videos of it.
I just gave you a simple one-page list of different things that you can do and incorporate into your practices. And remember, this is where it all starts, is the ball handling and dribbling.
Brian, you want to?
Sure. I just want to point out we built our coach's manual very much off this as a skeleton, but then we brought in some swish 8th grade girls and videotape them doing each of these drills. So if you go, like if you don't know what the elephant walk is, just go to the Google Doc that most of you have a link to, and you can just watch it. And you can even have it up at practice on your iPhone and watch it.
It's incredible.
So.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's very cool. A lot more high tech for me than that, but it's very cool.
During the players clinic this afternoon,
Yes.
We'll go through
Yes.
some of these different. Okay.
Yes, yeah, and Chuck and Brad kind of run it, and we'll go through stations and have the varsity players kind of mix in with them and kind of show them some things. And, it's very, very cool. Yeah. So we have the ball handling, we have passing, very, very lost art, very big lost art that we're trying to bring back. There's a lot about passing. We talk about. If you look at the passing drills, the third line where it says, always have your target up. We use the word target all the time. And we have a guy on our team, Terry Sparks, who's a really good player and really strong, and he can make some really good, hard passes. And we tell people all the time, you better have your target up because you're going to get some teeth knocked out because you better be ready. A couple years ago, our point guard, David McCormick, that I was talking about earlier, he was just an unbelievable passer. And if you weren't ready, that ball's going to hit your stomach or it's going to go out of bounds. And so we do these drills that are simple drills that we do at the varsity level that you could and should be doing at the elementary level, but we do them just to work on targets. Having your hands up ready for that pass, to limit your turnovers, which is a real big thing, obviously. Shooting drills, again, you could probably have 2 or 3 different pages, if not more, on shooting drills that are real important. When you talk about shooting, there's a lot of people that can talk about it. Doug, why don't you just, for a second, I'm going to put Doug on the spot here, just kind of expand on a shooter, on how they should approach a shot. Like if I'm passing the ball to you, what's the 2 or 3 or 4 point? So if you've got the ball, I got to work with that ball. I got to come on the screen. I got to constantly keep moving. I got to be set. I got to come the ball. So if I'm coming back the screen, I got my target up. I'm playing play, all ready, playing towards
that's not technique. You got, when you come off the screen, target, put square to basket first, and then let it go. A lot of kids, at a younger age, they can't get it up there with one hand, but we try to teach as best as we can to two hands to one hand on the ball. I don't know what's the best, but that's how I was taught. I think it works good. So, just getting your body square, taking your time. The longer you can look at the hoop, the better chance you got to be.
And exactly, all those little things, the approach and how you're ready, getting your target up and everything, turning ready to shoot is really important. And every level gets harder. And one of the confusing things about some of the players, kids that they think, well, I was really good player in 5th grade, I was a real good shooter. How come I'm not making it when I'm a junior or senior? Well, because it gets harder. Defense closes out harder. The game's a lot faster, a lot stronger. Jeremy knows this. And so all these things that if you can start teaching at an earlier age is only going to help them. Like Doug said, the first thing to get the ball, the first thing the kids want to do now is start to throw the ball. And we talk about catching it, ripping it through, put it on your hip, and keep your head up. You're in triple threat position.
There's only two reasons you should dribble. One is to improve your ankle for a pass, or take the ball home. Two reasons. That's it. You shouldn't dribble. It's a passing game. If you're putting your head down, you're in trouble.
And we tell people all the time that we tell our players all the time that once you get past dribble number 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, you're in trouble. Probably very likely that you're probably going to make a bad pass or a turnover. Something's going to happen. So we tell people all the time, you're only dribbling to improve your position, driving the basket, or improve your passing angle. And that's going to limit that person's turnovers. When you think about, watch your games, first thing they pass and they dribble. They pass, dribble. And they're going east and west the whole time instead of just looking up. You may have got someone wide open, or you may have a drive to the basket. And that's just natural what happens.
You could. You normally would do the drill.
Which the kids don't like at all. Oh, they don't like it all. I blow the whistle, they got to do 5 push-ups, get back up. They don't like it at all because we're trying to teach them, value the basketball. This is so valuable. It's gold. Take care of it. Let's not have turnovers. Let's give us a chance to be successful. Any questions on the shooting aspect or the dribbling or the passing? Okay, now on to the most exciting part, and that's the defense. I need to wrap up here because I got to get my team in here. But let me say this about the defense, and you saw the drills there for the defense. Defense is about effort, it's about heart, and we'll put you in a position. But here's what I want to say is this. Watch this. Okay, if I'm guarding Doug, and I get up and guard him, he probably doesn't like that too well. Okay? I don't care what level it is. But you know what? If I get up and I guard him right here, and he can pretty much do whatever he wants. He can see where he's going to pass. He might be able to dribble. He can do whatever he wants. But I guarantee you, if I do this, especially at your age group, if I do this, he's probably going to turn his back probably more behind me or behind himself and start dribbling like that. So what we teach, because you don't like me invading your space, you don't like me getting in your face, well, that's how we play defense. That's how we disrupt. That's how we get after it. And then we try to force them, and we always close out drills. And I come out to Doug and I'm guarding him. I'm not letting him do whatever he wants, go this way or go whatever. I am forcing him. I'm going to cut the court in half. And we did this. One reason why we won the league 2 years ago is because we would cut the court in half, and we would funnel him down here, and then we cut the court in half again. Now we only let him play in this area, in this square right here, and then we just attack him.
Maximum pressure. Then our backside defender led the city in steals that year. Getting tips.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had a question. I coach third grade, and so maybe Chuck, some of the guys that are used to dealing with the younger ones, I just want to make sure I'm not teaching the wrong things. Because I'm actually at that age almost teaching the opposite of not having them play any defense outside the three-point line, because I find when they get up in someone's face, they get blown by 90% of the time, and the other guy takes it in for an easy layup, especially at our age, because we can't double team outside the key.
Yeah.
And so just curious, you know, as we're getting 8, 9 years old, should we still be up in their face on defense?
It's a great question, and I'll tell you this. It happens, and if you stick around, you'll see we'll probably do the same thing in some respects. Not all the time, because they probably won't be playing much. But I'll tell you, what we tell people is that you got to gauge who you're guarding. Coach says get up in his face, and so we have guys that all they heard was coach, and they get right up in his face. And then what's he do? He goes right by. Well, we have to gauge. If Doug is a little quicker than me, a good ball handler, he can drive to the basket, I'm going to get up like this, and I'm going to guard him. I got a hand in the face, my hand's down. If the ball comes through here, I'm slapping it away. But I'm going to get up in his face, and if he goes to move, I can slide with him. And there's a big difference. This doesn't work. This doesn't work either. Go ahead, coffee. Right here. All right, now I can move my feet. Okay?
You know, there's a lot to be said about the breakdown. You know, can't really guard my guy. Coach tells me to run as hard as I can. Well, run as hard as I can out here, and he goes right by me. Is that kind of what it is, or just guarding in general?
Yeah.
Because a lot of, you know, Michelle, you know, we come out, little guy wins every single time. So we come out, chopping our feet, you know, hand here, always forcing it away. So just maybe teach the low guy wins. You know, it's not how fast you go out, it's how close you go out. That might help them find it.
What we try to teach on our little second grade team is to play close enough so that the guy can't stand there and just look at the court. So we want to be up close enough so that we're making them do something with the ball, but then we also don't want to get beat. So if you need to stay off 2 feet, do 2 steps back with a hand up, that's fine. And then when we get up by 10 or 15, once it looks like it's done, we put everybody back beyond the 3-point line, and then we get up by 4, we put back down to the free throw line. And we let them. They have the visual that they can dribble around and stuff.
There is a learning curve to it. And like I was taught, and I'm sure a lot of you guys were taught, you box out, like box out like this. Okay? Well, you don't do that anymore. Number one, you don't have your hands down. Now, we're going to come down, it's going to hit you in the head, where this guy's going to get it. Okay? What we teach people now, what we teach, especially the varsity guys, is I'm going to see which way he's going. We take a step. Now I'm just going to put my arm on him. I'm going to turn and bump him. So we just say turn and bump. I've just bumped him. Now I can go get the rebound. That's all we're doing now. All right? If we stand out here and try to hold him, you know, this way, it's too tough. And he's probably, if he's athletic, stronger, he's going to go right by me. You know what happens, and this happened like our first year, where if I'm doing this and he's pushing my back, I'm like this, and he's either getting a rebound or he's going right by me. So we tell people all the time, or we tell our players, we say, we close out, whichever way he's going, we follow him, put your butt into him, and go get it. Because guess what? You already have the position. All you needed was that position that much. And then go get it. And then the last thing we teach them is that when the rebound comes, we tell them the terminology to chin it. Meaning, don't bring it down and do this, which you see a lot of the guys that age. We tell them to slap hard and chin it. Here's your arms. You put it right underneath your chin. There's no way Doug's getting this ball. There's no way. Like this. You're seeing, if you put it up here and you're not really strong, Doug can probably get it. Put it like this, Doug will probably put his hands in, jump ball. We say slap it, chin it. There is no way anybody's getting this ball and you're using your pivot foot right here. Okay? So we do that, we do like one-on-one closeout drill. Where we close out, we yell shot, Doug. Doug, come on, let's go quick. Moving that block down. Yeah. So we do this closeout drill where the first thing is we're chopping our feet, chopping out, because if I come out and fly like this, he's going to go fly right by me. So we chop our feet, up, we have a hand up, okay, and then as he goes to shoot it, we're we're just shooting right. As he goes to shoot it, we're yelling shot. We're hitting them, we're bumping them. We go get it, shoot up. Whether it makes it or misses it, and then we're going, even if it's an air ball or a missed shot that goes way out, we're going to chase it, slapping it, and chinning it, then the drill's over. We do the whole thing. So it's chop and feed, he shoots it, chop,